Now in this exercise, you're going to place houses and trees along a roadway. You'll need to make some simple drawings of a road layout, 2 houses, and a unit tree. Now all this information is contained in a file called roadandhousedetails.pdf, which is located on your working files folder. If you would open that now and stop the video for a second and read the contents of the file, then get back to me when you're done and I'll explain what needs to be done. Now if you look at the 4 points on the first page, which are the steps that we're going to take to complete this exercise, and I'll quickly describe them to you. Point 1, we're going to create a new design file called road. And in that design file, we'll create a new design model called road layout. In the road layout design model, you're going to draw the road layout design. Second point is to create a new design model in the road design file called houses 1-2. And then draw the house 1 and house 2 designs in that model. Thirdly, you're going to create a new design file called tree and create a new design model called unit trees, and then draw the unit tree symbol. And fourthly, we're going to create a new sheet model called plot in the road design file and use references to assemble a plot of the road, houses, trees, and a title block. Now the title block we'll reuse from the previous videos, which will save a little time. Now you might think of this as a fairly long exercise, but actually it's not that difficult. We're using very simple drawings, and I'll be helping you through the entire process. And it will be very beneficial for you to complete the exercise. So let's get started. Now you see on the screen that I am in my title block file, and I'm going to use that to save as to create the new road design file. This is very convenient because as I do a save as, all the settings which I need from the title block file will be transferred to the new road file. So we go immediately to File and Save As. Now I've opened a new folder called Road Exercise, which is essentially my project folder, and I'm going to put all my files in that. Now if you want to do the same, you can. And if you want to do that, you can go across to the Create New Folder icon, which will allow you to create a new folder, in this case called Road Exercise, somewhere in your hard drive. When that's done, we come back and we change the file name to Road for our road design file. And we'll say Save. And we're working now in the road design file. And you can tell that by looking at the top left corner where it says Road Design. We don't need the title block in this file, so I'm going to delete that so we have a clear file to work with. Now the next step is to create a new design model called Road Layout in this file. So we will go to Models, and I'm sure you're aware, but clicking on the actual icon will open the model dialog box permanently, whereas clicking on the down arrow opens the dialog box temporarily. We can do our work in here, but after we're done, that will disappear automatically. We don't need to dismiss it. I'm going to float it permanently for the moment. So we need a new model. Create a new model. We're going to call the model Road Layout. I'm not going to add a description. Everything else is fine. We'll say OK. There's our new model. And we're automatically working in that model, having just created it. The next thing is to create the second model that we need, which is houses 1-2. So again, we hit the Create Model. I'm going to call this one houses 1-2. No description again. Everything else is fine. We'll say OK. And now we have the second model. Note that we're now working in the new model that we just created, not the road layout. Now, since the next step requires us to draw the road layout in the road layout model, we need to switch back to that model. So we double-click the road layout. And now we're working in the road layout model. We can now dismiss this box. And now you need to draw the actual road layout, the details of which are in that PDF file. So draw that now, using the dimensions given, and then get back to me when you've done that. When you finish the road layout drawing, the next step is to draw the two house designs. So now we need to switch models again. Now we're switching to the houses 1 and 2 model. And you need to draw the two houses here. Again, using the information in the PDF file. So draw those two and come back when you're done. Now the next step is to create the new design file called tree. And we're going to use Save As again in the current drawing to do that. So let's go to File and Save As. This time we're going to make a file called tree. And we'll say OK. Now we're working in the tree design, but of course we've brought all the information from the road design, including models and elements. Now we don't need these for the tree design. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to go to the Models dialog box. We don't need the road layout, so we can click on that and we can delete it. Hit delete on the keyboard. We say yes to the deletion. That's gone. We need to be in the houses 1, 2, but that needs to be a different name. So rather than just delete that, we'll simply change its name because we need to create a model called Unit Tree. So let's change this name. So we will right-click on this, click on Rename, and it will be Unit Tree. And enter, and we're done. That can go. We have the house drawings in our Unit Tree model, which we don't need. So we need to erase those. Delete. And now you want to draw the Unit Tree itself from the PDF file. Now look at the information carefully. This is a 1 master unit diameter symbol. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as this. This is just a symbol, but it really must be 1 mass unit in diameter. This is so we can scale this symbol quite easily when we place it in our drawings. So draw that and then get back to me when you've finished. Now, having done that, the last item is to reopen the road design file and create a sheet model. Let's do that right now. Let's switch to the road file, back to the road design file. We're working at the moment in the houses 1, 2 model, which is where we left it. And you can tell that, of course, by looking at the houses 1, 2 name in the top of the view window. That always tells you which model you're working in. Now we need to create a new model. So we'll go to Models. We're going to create. And this time it won't be a design model. It will be a sheet model. And sheet model, think plotting sheets, paper plotting sheets, in other words. It will be 2D, and we're going to give it a name, which will be plot. Now before we say yes, let's take a look at the other items in the list, particularly the display sheet boundary option, which by default is on. What this does is display a fairly simple sheet boundary in the view. And since we're using our own pre-designed title block, we don't need to display a sheet boundary. However, if you did, then you could use a specific border attachment, i.e. a title block. You can specify the size of the sheet boundary, the origin of it, and the rotation of it. We don't need it, so make sure you turn that option off. Everything else is fine, so we can say OK. Now notice immediately that the screen has turned white. This is because sheet models have a white background compared to the black background for design models. Again, think a sheet of paper on which your design will be plotted. You don't have to have a white background necessarily. You can change it to any other color you wish in the preferences. Notice too in the Models dialog box that design models have a blue icon, whereas sheet models have a white title block looking icon. And now we're ready to start assembling the various parts of this project into this sheet model ready for plotting. But before we do, I want you to look at the information I'm going to display. On the screen you'll see a table which displays the various design files and the models therein. I want you to double check that you've done exactly as described in the video so far, and check that you have the right files with the right models therein. In the road design file, you should see 3 models. You have a design model called road layout, a design model called houses 1, 2, and a sheet model called plot. In the tree design, you'll see 1 design model called unit trees. And we have our title block design available to us from the previous videos, in which there was a single design model called default. Please make sure that you have all that information correctly in place, ready for the next video. Now you can always refer to this because I've also printed this in the road and house details file in your working files folder. So refer to that if you get lost as you proceed through the next part of the exercise.